over Istanbul. But this has to be the strangest of all.
Music is such an important tool in our lives, not just to bring pleasure, but also to heal and to bring hope.
We're just in a period now that African brands are just owning that, owning what we have and projecting it in however they see fit.
I just love this place because this is somewhere where memory itself is set in stone.
This festival is all about light over darkness, the triumph of good over evil. And that idol over there, Kali, stands as a symbol of hope and power to everyone in the community.
Inspiring arts and culture on BBC World News.
Live from Singapore, essential business news as it breaks and a look at the economic news that will shape the day. This is BBC World News and Asia Business Report.
The damage done by Russia aggression for Ukraine is tremendous.
A year of war. We take a look at the size and scale of the global economic impact from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And Alibaba reports strong quarterly profits as China eases its crackdown on its technology sector. Hello and welcome to Asia Business Report. I'm Karishma Vaswani. Well, today marks a year since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and so we begin our broadcast this hour with the war, just as G7 ministers discussed new sanctions on Moscow on the eve of the anniversary. A year of fighting has taken a huge toll on Ukraine. My colleague Aaron Hesselher spoke to the Ukrainian finance minister and asked him just how badly the economy has been hit.
Unfortunately, the damage done by Russia aggression for Ukraine is tremendous. Last year, we lost particularly more than 30% of our GDP. There was no country which comparable effect, 1 year effect on the economy. That's why we suffered a lot. We lost part of our territory, but we're still capable, we're still able, and we still can execute our key function as a government. Starting from the first days of war, we are able to pay pensions for our people. We pay necessary social protection expenditures as well. We have done all necessary steps to increase our military budget. Half of our budget is a military budget. And of course, it's not an easy way to run a country in a war.
Your country, Sergei, has had tens of billions of dollars of international support from the likes of the US and the EU and others just to keep basics going, such as pension payments, government salaries. Are you confident that sort of help is just going to keep coming?
We are confident when we see money in our accounts. Yeah. If not, we should keep moving, we should keep negotiation. Of course, now we see that Ukraine's under tremendous support. All democracies support Ukraine, and it also creates necessary environment for political support for Ukraine. We, despite that it could be some fatigue for Ukraine's case, now we haven't seen fatigue.
Much of the support you've received, particularly from the EU, has been in the form of repayable loans rather than, well, donations. I mean, I'm just wondering, are you worried that Ukraine, you're going to be saddled with a mountain of debt that you're just not going to be able to pay off?
We're not worried about that concern right now. Of course, for us, it's preferable to receive grant financing. But MFA financing, macro-financial assistance from the EU, it's the money which they can provide for us. And the money which we are attracting from the EU is rather cheap money because EU borrows from their risk, as well as money with long-term maturity. As last year it was 15 plus, this year is around 30 years for repayment.
How long is it going to take to rebuild Ukraine's economy and get back to the size it was before the war started? And what gives you hope that it can be done?
Hope it's it's good, but the real step is better. So I would prefer to clear vision and clear estimates what we should do to bring our economy back to 2021. What we really need, it's a very cohesion policy within the government, very wise steps towards necessary policy tools and steps to help our economy to be in a position before the war.
Well, you can see more of that interview with Ukraine's finance minister on Talking Business with Aaron Hesselhurst this weekend, with the first airing at 22:30 GMT on Friday. Well, the sanctions on Russia have affected not just its economy, but also the rest of the world. With new economic sanctions now being discussed, many countries are reducing dependence on Moscow, except for China, which has consistently bought commodities and maintained trade ties with Russia. But is it enough? Well, we can bring in Chedomir Nestorovich, a professor at ISEC Business School, Asia Pacific, who joins me now on the program. Great to get you on the show this morning. I just want to get a sense from you of how badly sanctions are hitting Russia's economy.
So everyone expected that 1 year ago that the Russian economy will collapse. So this did not happen. So there was a decrease in the GDP. According to estimates, it is about 3 to 5%. Compared to the last year. So it is not very much, especially if we are referring to the massive loss that we had in Ukraine. So it did not collapse, but it will take its toll in the long run because the Western companies don't deliver anything, especially technology. So in the long run, there will be serious problems concerning the industry in Russia.
Yeah, in the long run, as you point out, there will be a sort of impact in the future on Russia. But how much is China helping Russia? Because, of course, it's maintained trade ties with Moscow.
So it is not only China, but also India and maybe some other countries, such as Turkey, which continue to have business with Russia. So for China and India, it is mainly from buying oil and gas from this country. So automatically they are giving something in exchange. So it may be in monetary terms, but it may be in barter arrangements. So Russia will get something from exporting oil and gas, but it will not get the Western technology. So they will get maybe the possibility to buy something from China, but it will not be the same as the Western products that they are used to have or that they are used to produce. But since now there are no semi-finished products or there are not equipment coming from the Western countries, all this production is going to stop.
So do you consistently see this sort of trend going forward where we have a sort of global split in terms of who trades with who? On the one side, those that side with Russia, on the other, the ones that side with the West?
So if the war continues, definitely this will happen. So we will have the group of, let's say, BRICS countries, including Iran, including Turkey, etc., and they will continue to have business with Russia. I also include the African countries because they must buy cereals, which are coming from Russia. So it means that the huge number of countries
I believe that we're having some technical difficulties with Chedomir Nestorovich there, a professor at ISEC Business School. I thank him for his thoughts, but we'll leave that interview there for now and tell you about Alibaba, which has posted strong earnings for the quarter ending December. Shares in the e-commerce company rose on the news as investors bet that China's reopening will help send consumer spending even higher this year. And for that, we can speak with Dan Ives, Senior Equity Analyst at the US-based Wedbush Securities. Dan, always great to get you on the program. What did you think of Alibaba's results?
I thought it was a major step in the right direction. I think we're seeing this reopening play out, and investors were really under-owned China tech. And I think now you start to factor in things like AI and some of these other technologies. You know, I think this is really going to be what I view as a fork in the road year for China tech, with winners and losers, Baba being a winner.
Yeah, how much did COVID restrictions, do you think, weigh on the sector?
It was a gut punch. This was a black cloud over China tech, and even some of the US names like Apple and Tesla that were impacted. And now the street finally breathes a sigh of relief. And as an investor, you could own these names again, not worried about what's coming around the corner. And I think now fundamentals will dictate it, but clearly a much more, what I would say, positive investing climate. And I think that's what you're seeing with these China tech stocks.
So are these shares undervalued, do you think, in your opinion? And are you seeing more upside to come?
I see more upside because of the what I view as the cloud story at Alibaba and even some of the AI stories here. I think Street's just not factoring it in well. And ultimately, I think in 2023, I think there's a lot of upside in China tech as well as US tech, in my view, especially with the broader Fed getting into the sort of 8th, 9th inning of these rate hikes.
Just zooming in on the regulatory environment in China when it comes to technology, Dan, of course, because as you and I have discussed before, that tech crackdown really affecting the outlook for tech firms. In your opinion, has that sort of changed? Has the outlook improved? Just briefly, if you don't mind.
I think it's improved slightly. That was a massive spider web, in terms of what we saw with China tech. And that was a huge overhang on the sector. You're starting to see an improvement, and it's also you're starting to see risk multiples now. Investors could bet on these names again, not worrying about what's going to happen on a weekend from a regulatory perspective.
Dan Ives there, Senior Equity Analyst at US-based Wedbush Securities. Always great to get you on Asia Business Report. And that brings us to the end of Asia Business Report at this hour. Thanks for joining me.
Introducing the new horizon for Riyadh. This is the new Murabba, the world's largest modern downtown, and at its heart, the Muqab, the world's first immersive experiential destination. Step inside and it's unlike anything you've ever seen, at a scale that's unprecedented. Experience a new horizon, new Murabba.
We start with a big win.
Stand by for a moment of history. The headlines keep breaking.
Now to football, tennis,
Formula One,
rugby union, FIFA World Cup.
The debate keeps raging. They're still the team to beat.
My heart rate was up.
Proud of everyone involved. We've only got ourselves to blame. The results keep coming.
I just cried a little bit.
It's going quite well. I don't know what to say. Absolute disbelief.
It means an awful lot.
To be crowned champions of the world. For all the latest results, headlines and analysis, Sport Today on BBC World News.
In the aftermath of the devastating earthquake, what's next for the survivors in Turkey and Syria?
Down there are small children removing the rubble.
What we've just been finding as we've spoken to people is that they are desperate.
President Erdogan is promising everyone a new home within a year. That's optimistic.
See the headlines as they happen with breaking news alerts in the app. And get the full story with bbc.com/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.
We'll lift everything.
Behind every headline, there is a human story. This is Our World.
It's a living culture.
A series of documentary films that reveal the human drama at the heart of global events.
Життя триває, у нас двоє дітей.
Our World on BBC World News.
It's really a lot of fake news. Just not